Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 171 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to add some processes onto salt processing here and see how it works. Enjoy. Mainly making this acid, because this is the better way to make the acid. But what happens if we don't have any salt? Well, then this method isn't going to work. And now that I think about it, we're going to need a whole bunch of salt here. And that's going to come on drones. So we probably want to start this process now and let these drones get up here. So we'll do salt. Send the drones. Have that output. But we need to get it out of the warehouse, which is all the way down here. So we'll run in here. And a lot of this is kind of not necessary anymore. So perhaps want to try to clean it up a bit. I kind of want to leave this here though, just because it's a bunch of barrels and I don't want to move them around. So we should be able to just kind of pick all of this up. And we'll be all zigzaggedy right there because it'll work just fine. So now we need to adjust these from mineral oil to salt. And let that clear out. And we're probably at the point where we can do something about all of these oil residuals too. But it's kind of a different process, so we'll worry about that later. For now, we just kind of want to get sodium hydroxide taken care of, because with blue science, there's so many things we could work on right now, so we kind of need to stay focused on particular tasks and worry about the factory as a whole once it's all smoothed out. But that should start supplying a bunch of salt, and we should see some drones heading down here now. And we'll just let it continue to run until it finally clears itself out. And actually, now that I think about it, we probably want to store our salt up here. And I think those are all the salt trucks. Because I don't think there's that many uses of salt. And this is probably the best one. Yep. In fact, this is the only thing we can do with salt, besides saline water and making it disappear. So, we should probably have a nice giant warehouse in here. Holding on to all of that salt. And just let it fill up to the maximum. We have hydrogen, which is being taken care of by burning it. But we still want to send the extras down, as well as chlorine. Chlorine isn't being sent on a pipe. Hydrogen chloride gas is. And here's another situation where we need purified water. But I think we previously calculated that this is enough for the factory. Let's try to grab it all and see what we can do with it. And see if that one water treatment plant is going to be enough if we put all this here. I mean, we'll be able to see by using the rate calculator, but... Okay, we need to produce some acids. And the output... It's kind of hard to see, but I believe it's right here. So we can kind of just plop it in there a little bit. See what it looks like. Unfortunately, though, handcrafting these is going to take a little bit of time. So probably should just go down there and pick up the old ones. Besides, we are waiting on the salt. Okay, well, we're basically going to pick up all this stuff because it's going to make a bit of a mess. Kind of want to do all this by hand because there's a lot of little pipes here and there that we're not going to need anymore. And we're going to have that green cable going all over the place, but I really don't feel like going there and picking it all up, but probably should. Just so it's not confusing, because if I 10 or 20 episodes from now I'm running around and I see a disconnected cable, I'm going to be like, oh no, I unhooked something. Something's wrong here. I better check out the entire factory and see what's broken. When nothing is broken. It's just, it'll be a lot better for sodium hydroxide to not have to deal with being produced so far away from where it's mostly being used. Plus, it's such a terrible wiring where it's like jumping all over all of these machines onto big poles, onto medium poles, then back to big poles again. Let's see, we don't need drones here either because this is going to be delivered on a belt to make life so much easier. And yeah, we won't need this warehouse either because it's going to be coming something like this. And I won't worry about saving the acid we have. I just want to clean all this up. So we'll pick up the relevant pipes. And just leave it connected right here, because it does have to go to the train. We've got a bunch of electrodes here. We made too many, but we can grab a few of those to prime the system. And actually, might want to do the same thing with sulfur. Not sure how much sulfur we might need. Let's just grab a stack of it and see if that's enough. Well, we're getting lots of salt. And these are clearing out down to the last few warehouses, but those are the warehouses with all the salt in them, so it's going to be quite some time. But here we probably only need power poles every other machine. And we'll do some efficiencies in here, since we don't know if we need them any faster than this. So let's clean this up. Get one more thing of purified water delivered. Then we have the outputs of this. We want to have a priority for hydrochloric acid from this direction. So, let's see if we can do a tank here. We'll just plop it right in there. Have the output go in there, and we'll let it fill up all the way if it can. Let's see, this is misaligned by the tiniest bit. So we'll pick it up and push it up by 1. So that can line up nice and clean. Then we'll set this to run only if hydrochloric acid is less than 10,000. It will need a pump on the back end to pressurize it. And we'll slice it in right here. And we also need to handle the hydrogen chloride gas as well. But this is the only way that it's produced. So we can just run it in there with no logic. And it pipes in right there. And then we've got to get the chlorine and hydrogen linked up here. The hydrogen is already taken care of as far as the hydrogen burners are concerned. So we don't have to worry about dealing with too much of that. We can just hook it in right here. Luckily, it seems to line up pretty well. And then we have the chlorine, which is a little harder, because we're going to need to dump it if we have too much here. And because of the volume, just like with hydrogen, we probably want to have it kind of separated here. So we're going to have this much of chlorine gas, and then potentially void all of it, which is 2 flare stacks, and some all corners tanks. Maybe like right there. Then we can actually place these flare stacks up here and make it look kind of symmetrical. So put that there. So if chlorine is more than 40,000, just dump it. And we'll need something similar for all three setups. Starting to look pretty nice here. I really hope it all works. That's always kind of the fear whenever making anything is, well man, I hope there's not some giant error or oversight in all of this that's going to suddenly make it not work. But so far so good. So now we have 3 storage tanks for chlorine, and it will vent any extras. But we do need to do the hydrogen chloride. So we got to connect all these. So there we go, that's running. And it pressurized the system, so now it's just topping off the tank. Okay, purified water isn't working, but it looks like it's because it's not lined up correctly. There we go. Topping off hydrochloric acid. And this is going to run and fill this up to 10,000. And we got to see how all of this works. Well, we've got those clean electrodes, which we can throw in there. And a bunch of sulfur, which I guess we'll do half in this one and half in this one. So we can prime the system. This seems to be a fairly healthy amount of sulfuric acid that's getting built up. Let's let it top off. Meanwhile, how does all this look? Well, it's not all running. Is there a reason for that? No saline water. It's like it's just not making it down here. It seems like they all suffer from that. Interesting. It looks like it's a flow problem. Well, it's kind of interesting that these aren't fast enough, but maybe some pumps would help. It's always kind of a problem if this isn't going to be enough, but let's help them with some pumps. Nope. Let's try one other thing here before we start giving up on this. Let's put a buffer tank in there. And let's try another pump. Pressurizing on the way in here. Perhaps one with a buffer tank. Well, we're getting more, but we seem to be getting to the limit of what we can expect out of pipes. That is kind of a problem with these salination plants, is they require huge amounts of water. 2.5K. I guess we got to do it in a different way. I do believe we have access to ducts now, which we do, but it requires titanium. So we can't quite use those yet. That would have helped. How much water are we looking at? So 2.5K, a little bit more. That's like 5 pump jacks. Pump jacks are actually kind of fast. Well, let's just leave that connected and use the water from the coast that we can. I'm kind of annoyed now that I placed this here to use water from the coast when it's just not enough and they need the groundwater pump jacks anyway, but it fits nice here. It's pretty good. Because we can put some pump jacks in here. Not sure exactly how many of them, but let's see if this is going to be enough. Looks like it just about will be. I think these are just kind of filling up. So let's disconnect it for a second to let them all fill up. Oh, they all turn green though. All the electrolyzers are going. Those seem to be pretty good. So we'll plop these in there to help out. And making lots of sodium hydroxide still. Probably want to have Some nice Nixie tubes. To give us an idea of what we're working with here. Hook this up as well to chlorine. And I think we're ready to see how this works. So we will hook it up and see what happens. It's going to be a lot to follow here. So that's pounding out sodium hydroxide. And it's cleaning the electrodes. Seems pretty good. And I think this process uses exactly one yellow belt. Seems like this one's slowing down a bit. We might not need a full unit's worth though. But nonetheless, we might want to have burst capacity here. So we'll put 2 in there. It's electrolyzing, making the sodium. It looks like the sulfuric acid has a nice buffer to it. All of this seems to be working pretty well. It's actually kind of uneventful, really. However, this side will only continue to work until it fills out on hydrochloric acid, and then it'll have to stop. Let's see, this seems to be a little slow. So we can put more inserters in here. Okay, that's running as fast as it can. So how are we doing with salt down here? Actually, there's still a ton of it left. So I have the feeling that salt here is going to greatly contribute to our sodium hydroxide production. And make it much less of a big deal as it was before. We'll let that run for a bit. We'll have to come back and check to make sure it stops like it should. But now we have a really long belt to run. It's kind of annoying having to run a belt all the way down here, but well, I guess we didn't have to specifically with the using pump jacks for water, but this will work. And we can kind of come in there, jump the gap and deliver it like normal. Then it will go all the way down here. And of course we have lots of sodium hydroxide we can remove from here, and we really don't even need to have this storage warehouse at all. Looks like there's a pipe right here, so it actually lines up better with this spot. But we have an output. It'll come up here. And probably want to put a splitter here because we still need to deliver the resources by drone. Okay, that's hooked up. Sodium hydroxide is on the way. That will take care of aluminum. We still need to get rid of this warehouse. Unfortunately, there's still so much of it, we have to make 2 trips. And it looks like we filled up on hydrochloric acid. So this bottom method has stopped operating. And now we're just doing it with electrolysis. And there we go. Now that we've delivered more than 20,000 here, that has stopped filling up as well, so we're not just needlessly creating it. And might as well center this again so it doesn't look quite so weird. There we go, looking good. And finally, we need to hook this up to the drone network. And supply depot. Let's fill it up to 10,000. And have a rider in here turning it off unless we've got at least a drone's worth which is now 600. But we got one other thing we need to take care of here. Probably should shut this off. That we have to have the logic in here for turning this on and off. Because we need a request depot here, because sodium hydroxide is made in other parts of the factory. So we gotta grab it. But we don't want both of these on all the time. So we probably don't want to have this connected here at all. Probably should have copied the setup from sodium hydroxide before. Could probably try to figure out what it's supposed to be here. Where the signal comes in. And I think the problem we ran into before with that 0 greater than 0 kind of thing was because it was running directly on the signal. But if we use something like this, where we create a green square instead, that should avoid any problems. So, if this receives a sodium hydroxide, it'll say green. So if there is a request elsewhere, this one will not work. So green has to be 0 for this to work. And if green is equal to 1, the supply depot will work. Since there is no request, there's no green square, which means the request is being made here to store all of the sodium hydroxide, and the supplier, we can hook it back up, is not working or won't supply it because no one's making any requests. So we should have a system elsewhere, and we do, putting requests on the network here, and I believe we need it in 2 spots. One is for science, and one is up here to make crystals. If either of those turns on, this will alternate, so any produced resources will go out there, and otherwise all produced resources will be stored here. So hopefully I got that set up correctly. I know that with the way the transport drones works, it's not particularly intuitive how to do that. But let's see, let's line this up. So you just have to make do. It's probably not the best thing to put on drones, but unfortunately it's convenient considering they're, generally speaking, low throughput items. We'll have to keep that in the back of our minds here to double check that to make sure that it works properly in the future. But it looks like it's doing a pretty good job at going through all of that salt. So this might be a situation to do some research and make sure that it all works. We're going to be overloaded on aluminum here because we just made way too much of it. But let's see what we can research. Ideally stuff that takes a lot of research, and it has to basically be blue. Well, Metallurgy 3 does unlock quite a bit of stuff here. For example, our tier 1 of making brass is copper and zinc, but the tier 2 will use some tin. So we'll do that. And we get one for bronze as well, where tier 2 of bronze adds a little bit of nickel, but tier 3 will use zinc instead. So we'll hit that. Then we have lots of the higher tier of making coils, but that requires coolant, and that's a complication we should probably wait till later to start with. Same with dealing with all these pellets and whatnot. Those are kind of separate processes. Like we have more advanced silicon we can do by making quartz crucible. These are all steps that are worth it, but I want to avoid having too much complications right now. See, there's a couple of things we can do. We can upgrade our steel casting, basically, so we get the steel sheet coils, but that also unlocks the ability to add silicon or manganese to make steel go a lot farther. So this will have a dramatic reduction on the amount of iron that goes into making steel, but it does require either silicon or manganese to make happen. but we do want to grab it specifically for sheet coils. I don't know if we're going to upgrade bronze and brass right now, but they're easy upgrades to grab. There's also zinc here by doing zinc coils, but I don't even know if we have zinc. No, it's not even being put on a train, and presumably that was a choice. Yeah, because it only goes into a very few things. So that's something we don't need to bother with, and looks like that research happened pretty quick. So I think the only other thing, we'll let that start going. It's researching quite quickly. But it's a silver wire, I think, and we might already have it researched. Yeah, we can make silver wire. But making silver plates is something we can do too, and we already have that researched. But it looks like, besides like Invar and steel, we're not really going to make any resource requests anytime soon. So researching this stuff probably isn't really going to test much, because it's all pretty much maxed out here. Unless it's a very large research. There's a lot of good stuff in here we can do. Like increase the braking force on our trains. We can do that twice. Increase the character mining speed even more, which is useful for picking up machines. We don't use that for mining stuff anymore, but it does make picking up machines faster, so it's worth doing. And lab research speed is always nice too. And we can actually grab 2 of those. Feeling pretty good now about our science setup here. It seems like it's getting pretty close to being self-sufficient in the long term. Probably just gonna have to let this run a while so it goes through its buffer. It seems like the factory is actually using a pretty significant amount of power now. So it looks like we used about half of our batteries through the night. I see we made a request for sodium hydroxide. It's on the wire. Did it make it down here? It did. And this alternated. So now the supply depot is active. And there's probably a drone on its way. This is all looking pretty good. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. And this is looking pretty good too. Using up that salt. We probably still have an enormous amount of it. Yeah, 61,000 still here, so it's going to be a long while before we go through all of that. Which is nice. That's what I was figuring with that salt, is that it would really help us with sodium hydroxide later. So it was worth holding on to all of that. Although, I do see a potential problem here. Yeah, where all of the hydrogen ran out. So we do need to produce chlorine and hydrogen. Well, one potential fix here is to only dump the hydrogen when this tank is actually full to make sure that it's available. So that might have been the error. So we'll go there and say, let's say hydrogen has to be at least 10,000. Which now means we're super short on hydrogen. So for now, let's just let this run. And fill up here. See how that works? It's filling up very quickly. Okay, that's connected again. And enough hydrogen and chlorine is making it down there. So let's hook it up again. So there we go. These are always going to have the input resources that they need. Hydrogen might be a little slow, but it looks okay for now. So now that we have aluminum all taken care of, specifically the sodium hydroxide, now the last few steps are upgrading to coils for the things that aren't already in coil form. So we got a big spot right here for silver wire. Then we got a spot right here, which it should barely fit, to make silver sheet coils. And then we need to convert steel into coils as well. That's going to have to wait until the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.